There is a company that can design a new piece of clothing, manufacture it, and ship it to your door, anywhere in the world, in under 3 days, not 3 weeks, not 3 days with 2-day shipping. 3 days from the moment someone decided the garment should exist. In 2023, that company generated $32 billion in revenue. It surpassed H&M. It surpassed Zara. It briefly became the most downloaded shopping app in the United States, ahead of Amazon. Its founder has never given a public interview. Its supply chain is a legal gray zone in at least 11 countries. And the fashion industry, an industry that has had 60 years to figure out fast fashion, still has no idea how to beat it. This is the Shein playbook, and the reason nobody can copy it is more interesting than the playbook itself. I'm Andrew Busila. This is the Busila Breakdown. To understand what Shein built, you have to understand what every other fashion company has accepted as an immovable constraint. Traditional fashion, even fast fashion, runs on a model called forward buying. A brand's designers predict what customers will want 6 to 12 months from now. They order large batches from manufacturers, minimum runs of 500 to 1,000 units per style. Those garments get shipped to warehouses, and then they sit there, waiting to be wanted. When the prediction is right, a brand makes money. When it's wrong, and in fashion, it is wrong roughly 40% of the time, the garments get marked down, liquidated, or destroyed. This is not a bug in the system, it is the system. Every company from Zara to H&M to Gap operates inside this constraint. The best ones have gotten the prediction window down to 3 or 4 weeks. Zara is famous for its 2-week turnaround. The industry considers this extraordinary. Shein doesn't predict, it tests. Here is the actual process, reconstructed from supplier interviews, logistics records, and the rare internal document that has made it into the press. A Shein algorithm identifies a micro-trend, not a season trend, not a macro-aesthetic movement. A micro-trend, a specific silhouette appearing in a specific corner of TikTok, worn by a specific demographic, in a specific geography, gaining engagement at an above-average rate. The algorithm flags it. A design team, working from the algorithm's output, not from a creative director's instinct, produces a pattern within 24 hours. That pattern goes to one of Shein's network of contracted manufacturers in the Guangzhou district. The manufacturer produces a test batch of 100 units, sometimes 50. Those units go live on the app. The algorithm watches what happens. If conversion is strong, if the click-through rate, the add-to-cart rate, the purchase rate all clear threshold, production scales immediately. If conversion is weak, the item is quietly buried and never restocked. The critical number is this: Shein tests somewhere between 2,000 and 10,000 new styles every single day. Zara tests roughly 10,000 new styles per year. That is not a typo. That is the gap. Shein runs in a single day what Zara runs in a year. And because Shein only scales what's already proven to sell, its inventory waste rate is reported to be below 10%, compared to an industry average of 30 to 40. This is the machine. And the reason it works is not the supply chain, not the algorithm, and not the price point. It's the geography. Shein didn't invent real-time micro-production. It moved to the only place on Earth where real-time micro-production is physically possible at scale. The Panyu district of Guangzhou, China, is home to approximately 5,000 garment manufacturers, not 5,000 workers, 5,000 manufacturers, most of them small operations running 20 to 100 people each. These factories have been competing with each other for contracts for 30 years. The ones that survived did so by becoming extraordinarily good at two things: flexibility and speed. They can switch production from a t-shirt to a dress to a jacket within hours. They don't need long runs. They don't want long runs. Long runs mean single clients, and single clients mean vulnerability. Shein didn't build this ecosystem, it plugged into it. What Shein did build was the connective tissue, a supplier management platform that links its algorithm directly to manufacturer capacity in real time. When a test batch needs to scale, the platform identifies which factories have open capacity, routes the order, tracks production, and schedules pickup without a human buyer making a single phone call. This is why Shein's pricing is not a loss leader strategy. It is not dumping. It is the natural output of a system that has eliminated almost every cost that traditional fashion brands accept as unavoidable. The design overhead, the long lead ordering, the warehouse inventory, the markdown cycle. When people ask how Shein can sell a dress for $7, the honest answer is because every dollar that other brands spend predicting the wrong thing, Shein doesn't spend. But here is where the story gets complicated. Because the same system that makes Shein extraordinarily efficient has a second output that is harder to discuss in a quarterly earnings call. Labor conditions in Shein's supplier network have been documented in multiple investigations by Channel 4 in the United Kingdom, by Reuters, by the Swiss nonprofit Public Eye, as operating outside Chinese labor law minimums, 16-hour days, no overtime pay, wages calculated per item produced at rates that work out to approximately 3 cents per garment. Shein has disputed some of these figures and has announced supplier auditing programs. Whether those programs have materially changed conditions is, as of this recording, disputed. The point is not to adjudicate labor practices in a YouTube video. The point is to understand that Shein's cost structure and its labor conditions are not separate stories. They are the same story. The machine is extraordinarily efficient. The question of who pays for that efficiency is one the company has never fully answered in public. Every major fashion company has looked at what Shein built and tried to replicate it. Zara's parent company, Inditex, announced an investment in real-time production systems in 2022. H&M launched separate brands specifically to compete on speed. ASOS built out a test-and-learn production model. Amazon launched a Shein competitive app called Inspire. None of them have closed the gap. The reason is not the algorithm. Algorithms can be built. The reason is not the app. Apps can be designed. The reason is not even the price point. The reason is the Guangzhou supplier network and the 20 years it took to build it. Those 5,000 manufacturers didn't become Shein's ecosystem overnight. They adapted to Shein's model over years of relationship building, platform integration, and shared financial incentive. The manufacturers who work with Shein have restructured their entire operations around Shein's test and scale logic. Their floor space, their machinery, their staffing models, all of it optimized for batches of 100, not batches of 1,000. Zara cannot walk into Guangzhou and replicate that in 2 years. There is no factory cluster in Europe or the Americas that operates at this density, at this flexibility, at this price point. And building one would cost billions of dollars and a decade of time. And by the time it existed, the advantage would need to be re-earned. This is what a genuine structural moat looks like. Not a patent, not a trade secret, a physical, geographic, relational infrastructure that took 20 years to build and would take another 20 to replicate. The only entity that might be able to close this gap isn't a fashion company. It's a government. For most of its existence, Shein has benefited from a provision in U.S. trade law called the de minimis exemption, Section 321 of the Tariff Act. The provision was written in 1938. It says that any import shipment valued under $200 is exempt from customs duties and, critically, from the detailed inspection and documentation required of larger commercial shipments. The original logic was practical. Taxing a tourist's souvenir isn't worth the paperwork. Shein ships individual customer orders directly from its Guangzhou facilities to U.S. consumers. Each package is, by design, a single customer's order, typically valued under $200. Under Section 321, each of those packages arrives in the United States without paying import duties and without the supply chain documentation that U.S. Customs requires of other fashion importers. In 2023, Shein shipped an estimated 1 million packages per day into the United States under this provision. The U.S. fashion industry, which does pay import duties, has lobbied Congress to close the loophole for years. In 2024, the Biden administration announced restrictions. In 2025, the Trump administration moved to eliminate de minimis entirely for Chinese goods, citing national security and enforcement concerns. If that change holds, Shein's cost structure faces its first genuine external threat. Import duties of 25 to 145% applied per package would materially change the economics of shipping a $7 dress from Guangzhou to a doorstep in Ohio. Shein has responded the way every sophisticated company responds to regulatory pressure, by moving. It is building fulfillment infrastructure in the United States, sourcing some production from factories in Turkey, Brazil, and Mexico, and actively diversifying its regulatory exposure. Whether it can maintain its price point through that transition is the open question the company has not answered publicly, because the answer almost certainly requires revealing exactly how thin the margins really are. Shein is not the first company to be built on regulatory arbitrage, cheap labor, and an algorithm that moves faster than its competitors. It is, however, the most refined version of that model ever deployed in consumer retail. And the reason the fashion industry can't beat it isn't a failure of creativity or capital. It's a failure of geography and of time. The Guangzhou ecosystem that makes the machine possible took 20 years to become what it is. By the time any Western competitor could build something comparable, the rules of the game will have changed again. The story of Shein is ultimately a story about what happens when a company optimizes for a single variable, speed, with complete disregard for every other consideration. It produces something genuinely extraordinary and genuinely difficult to look at directly. The fashion industry is still figuring out which of those two things matters more. I'm Andrew Busila. Thanks for watching the Busila Breakdown.